So the speech is a complex text.
Yes.
It's an informational text. There's a lot to it.
That's right.
How did you get your students to engage in a close reading of the text?
Okay, well, I wanted the students to really understand it, so I chose to read aloud to them and just instructed them to follow along, you know, read silently to themselves as I read to them. So as we read, I would stop at certain points in the speech and ask for clarification of what he said, or ask if there were any questions, just to make sure that they were comprehending and following.
Okay. And was there a activity then that they might do independently while they read, or after you read it once all the way through?
Right. After we read it once all the way through, I wanted them to then go back and read it with, you know, along to themselves, with a highlighter, and then highlight significant things that Ella Wiesel said in the speech.
So an important point there, which is that the close reading is happening really on the second and third reading.
Right.
It's not on that first reading.
Right.
And that's an important point, that they're going back to the text. And after they get a general idea of what it is, what he says, some of the key words, now they're going back.
Exactly.
So in the text, they're highlighting. What else are they doing?
They're highlighting, and they're making notes in the margins of telling me why they're highlighting that. Why is that significant, you know, to what he's saying, and to the overall theme of his speech? How does it prove his point? How does it support his argument? So I wanted them to not only highlight, but tell me why they highlighted it and what the significance of that particular passage was.
I heard you say, why is this quote important? Why does he say it? And how does this quote support his main idea, his main theme? That sounds like questions you ask students a lot about what they read.
Right, that's true. I ask them that a lot. They're used to it.
They're used to it.
Right.
Would you say that you ask that every time you read something, or?
Definitely. Each time that we're in, whether it's informational text or literary text, I try to make sure they can support their, if they say the theme of, you know, a novel is this, I want them to be able to tell me, well, how do you know this theme? What happened in the characters? What did the characters say to kind of make that theme come to life?
So it really becomes part of the culture of your class.
Exactly.
Where kids know that I'm going to have to defend what I say with text. Exactly. And I have to be able to explain, why is this important? Why is this quote important? I can choose a quote, because we know if we just let kids highlight, they'll highlight the whole page,
the
whole paragraph. It's all important.
Exactly.
But why is this sentence important as opposed to that one? So would you say that at this point in the year, we're at the end of the year, they do it independently with not a lot of guidance, or do you have to hold their hands?
They do it pretty much independently now, because we've been doing it all school year. You know, something that we've done all school year.
What was some scaffolding that you put in place, or instruction, that led them to now be able to do that type of annotation independently? Okay,
well, back in August, we also used another unit that was provided by the state. And we read Cry the Beloved Country by Alan Patton, and I wanted the kids to know then how to annotate. The kids had copies of the novels, and so I wanted them to be able to make annotations in their own books. So what I did was provided them with an example in my own book, and how I annotated the text and highlighted things and had notes in the margins, and if you continue to flip through.
And most of your highlights have notes connected to it.
Right, they have notes connected to it, even
I see a
down
sticky
to
note.
A sticky note, even down to circling unfamiliar vocabulary. You know, I wanted them to really know what I was looking for them to do with the text, and so I gave them an example of that.
So you modeled it with a text that you were all reading.
Yes.
And what about the actual activity of highlighting and then putting it, maybe after modeling, was there something else that you gave them to scaffold?
After modeling, I taught them how to use a dialectical journal, which basically what they do is it's a 2-column chart, and on one side of the chart they choose significant quotes or passages from the text, and they write it down with the page number and who said it, you know, tell me which character said it. And on the right hand side of that, they respond to it, and they give me some information about how that's important to the plot, or what type of conflict it is, or if that's the protagonist or the antagonist, or they can even make predictions about what they think is going to happen in the story. But all of that kind of set them up for where they are now, which is the expectation. They know when they read, I'm expecting them to be able to identify something.
What I see that dialectical journal doing, and we're going to post that and the other documents on the website next to this Prezi. However, this one actually isn't for this task, it's for an old task, because that you gave it back to them.
Yes.
That's okay, but you can see what it looks like.
Exactly.
But what it's doing is it's making them make their thinking visible. So they say, okay, this is a quote, it's important, but why is it important? So they might be able to explain it to you, but if they write it down, now it's there, and they can go back and refer to it when they have to write some sort of essay or article, op-ed. So they're basically holding their thinking, making it visible on paper, so then they can transfer their reading to writing later on.
Exactly.
And you've been providing the scaffold all year with the dialectical journal, figure modeling.
Right.
That's some excellent practices in preparation for that type of work.
Thank you.
So one other objective you had for this lesson was, we didn't talk about in the beginning, language skills.
Yes.
Specifically creating style through sentence variety.
Exactly.
In our next video, we're going to see how you incorporated language skills and sentence variety and style into this unit.